Welcome to Heal with Us, where we aim to inspire, strengthen, and empower. So let's begin to heal.
Hey y'all, I'm Latoya, and I'm investigating the business of everyday people like you and I. This is Dr. Nikisha. She'll be checking in on your heart. And this is Tam. She'll be enlightening you with fun facts that you didn't even know you needed, because she's nerdy like that. Now that you know us, let's get into business.
And your
Let's go.
business.
So, Dr. Nikisha, what degrees do you hold?
So I have a associate's in applied science and early childhood education, a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies with a minor in English, a master's in teacher leadership, and a doctoral in sorry, I just forgot what I went to school for. A doctoral and PhD in education and psychology.
Okay. And Dr. Nikisha, was that your original plan?
Actually, it was. And it's funny you asked that because I just had a conversation with my daughter. So, yes. Well, I will say I wasn't really thinking as far ahead as obtaining a doctorate, but just divine intervention, left now made it very clear that's what he wanted me to do.
Okay. What advice do you have for others starting or going back to college?
Um, know your season, because I will say in my journey, there were quite a few times that I actually wanted to go back and get my master's. So I actually went back, tried to go back for marketing, and it just was not working out. I tried to go for theology. That did not work. And finally, I just sat down and realized, okay, wait, this is not time yet. And when it was time, everything swirled. So I would say, be patient with yourself. Don't rush into it because you want to make sure you're going for the right reasons, whether that's to improve your skills and expertise or bring in more income. But just know your reason and know the timing and don't give up.
Okay. And how did your journey impact the person you are today versus when you first started?
Oh, wow. I will say that me, and this is just hard to put in words because I know the grace of God was on my life and it's on our life because there weren't a lot of people in my immediate space that were pursuing a college degree. So for me, it was definitely stepping outside of the box, and it was stepping out of my comfort zone. It was living my dream. So I think for me, I started off as a young girl who really did not, I saw bits and pieces of a vision, where now I'm living that vision. So I think I'm more confident in my calling and purpose, although some days I do question my life choices. It doesn't always look the way you thought it would look, but I know that my purpose, no matter where my calling is, my purpose is always to educate and to teach. So I think it's more had allowed me to be more intentional and more focused in regards to just walking that out. Exactly.
Thank you, Dr. Nikisha. But now, Terry, when you getting your business? Great. Let's go. So what degrees do you hold? Well, I have an associate's in science. Then I had a bachelor's in business administration. And I also have an MBA in business administration with a specialization in organizational management. And push. I don't know about that PhD though. Was that your original plan? No, it was not. So the bachelor's in biology was when I had my son. He was born premature, and we spent a long time in the NICU or neonatal intensive care unit. And during that time, I got really close with the nurses, and one particular part of his care was respiratory therapy. And I was very intrigued because that was the system in which he had a lot of complications with his respiratory. And I just asked questions, and everything that they did, they were the major ones besides the doctors, but they were the major ones that kind of really played a key role in his healing and growing and being able to come out of the intensive care unit. And found out that one of the local colleges offered a program in respiratory therapy, and applied, got in it, made it through the first year, started the second year, and I just slowly found out that this is not what God wants me to do or had me to do. And around that time, this was way before COVID, anything. At that time, what was going on was, goodness, it was respiratory illness, and it was just too much going on, and the doctors and the setup at this particular, I don't want to say the name, but particular institution wants you to care for patients without having dignity or humility or even compassion. They wanted you to be robotic in your care. I've always been a person that wants to help people and wants to take care of people. So that was a little bit of a struggle with myself to say that, how am I going to do this? So part of a respiratory therapist's job is to monitor patients who are on ventilators. And a part of that job was me going in when there was nothing else that God could do or the doctors to do. I would take them off of that respirator or ventilator and watch them expire. And months and months of taking care of someone on a ventilator, I get to know the families because they're coming in. Me and the nurses were taking, so that person we take on as your family member because you're taking care of them. And to be told that I'm getting too close to the patients, I said, yeah, this is not for me, because I signed up to take care of people and to help in the aid of healing. And if you're not going to allow me to work in what I feel is my gift, then this is not for me. So I switched over to business, and that's where I am now, and I love it. I aspire to be an entrepreneur eventually. So that's where I am now. What advice do you have for others starting or going back to college? I would say take your time. Take your time, don't rush. There is no time limit or anything. I just watched a documentary yesterday about this 82-year-old woman who wanted to learn how to swim. And she, at 82, learned how to swim. So it's not a race against time. It's not a race against the clock. This is your future. This is what you are choosing to do for the rest of your life. So take your time. If you decide on one major, as Dr. Nikisha spoke early, and it doesn't work out, it's okay. It's okay. Change it. But at least make sure you're working in an area or studying in an area where you feel your passion is. How did your journey impact the person you are today versus when you started? I would say that it made me more, conscious of my choices, because undergrad, you kind of just go with the flow. When you decide to take that next step into graduate or even a doctoral, I feel like at that point you've done a lot of growth, and you know where you're going, where your trajectory is. So I would just say that for me, it signified growth for me. Immaturity as well. Thank you, Tam. But you're welcome. Remember, tomorrow's one day closer to you becoming the person you want to be. Just make one choice at a time. Thank you guys for letting me get on into business again. Sure. You tell them.
Blessings, this is Dr. Nikisha Bell Griffin, and I have one question for you. How's your heart? So our last episode, we kind of talked about ways to determine if your heart was infected, right? So we talked about negative self-talk and how whomever the narrator in your head is can influence how you perceive yourself, the choices you're making, what you're feeling. And that can be, of course, if it's a negative self-talk or negative narrator, it can definitely diminish who you are as a person. It can impact how you walk out your purpose, how you're interacting with your peers and colleagues. I mean, just every facet of our life. So today I kind of want to deal with the other three contaminators, if we may, that kind of infect our heart, that infects every part of our lives. And those three things are definitely connected to negative self-talk. So self-condemnation, which can evolve from a poor self-worth and then a self-doubt. So with self-condemnation, for me, and this is, part of this is part of my research from actual psychologists, therapists. Part of it is personal, so kind of interweave the two together. And a part of it is from my course, my work as a educational psychologist, because that is a part of my field to understand what impacts learning, what impacts our ability to grow as people. So with self-condemnation, the root of that basically is just having a lack of grace and compassion for yourself. Yes. And this typically evolves from not having a safe place to think or make mistakes. So I'll give you an example, and I don't know why I remember this, but it's funny the things we do on here. When I was in about first grade, I can remember our teacher put us in groups and we had to work together. I don't remember what we were doing, but we were doing a project and everyone had to work together, draw a picture, write, or whatever it may have been. And I think I'm not an artist. I don't eat to this day. I could care less about drawing a picture, painting a picture my fingers right. So I apparently made a mistake, on the paper and this new project. And I just remember one of the students just getting really irate and upset. And it just kind of created this sense of shame, like, oh my God, I made a mistake. That was a horrible thing to do. And instead of the teacher coming in and kind of buffering and saying, it's all right, it's not a big deal, it just kind of like, she just kind of did not address it. And I found myself being in a lot of situations like that growing up, just not being in spaces. And I see it today as an educator, children not being in spaces where they're encouraged to make mistakes, because mistakes are how we learn. They're encouraged to not think about it as failing, but just really failure is learning. Like, sometimes you don't learn unless you mess it up, And that's the thing I love about smaller children, because they don't have that consciousness or self-consciousness of, oh my God, I gotta get it right. They're just having fun. If you watch them, they're just focused on the process. They don't care about the product. So for me, that is how self-condemnation formed in my life and probably in many other individuals' lives. Just like I said, just being in that space where you felt like you had to be perfect. You had to get it right. You had to know all, do all, be all, with no space for error. So what self-condemnation does, I give you ladies a chance to interject, and please do if something, pause, stop me if something jumps out at you. But it basically causes you to have a critical spirit towards yourself, towards others. It causes you to be very judgmental, and it causes you to put a lot of pressure on yourself. Because think about it, if you are living in a space or reality where you can't make mistakes, which is very unrealistic, then you're going to always feel like you're never getting it right. And that pressure is just going to grow and grow and grow and grow. We also can become very self-accusatory. So it's almost like, for us believers, we know that the enemy is the accuser of the group. His job is to point out everything we do bad. But it's amazing how he works. He can set it up so that the voice, that negative self-talk again, becomes like that self-fulfilling, self-accusatory record in your head. So he not even really have to do anything. He just plants that seed, and then before you know it, you're living in life where you're constantly accusing yourself of every little thing that you did get right, every little thing that you made a mistake on, and it hinders your growth. It basically, we're talking about your heart being infected. Your heart is contaminated because who can carry that weight? You know, like nobody can carry that weight of just being perfect. It's no such thing. So can you ladies kind of just share to be you in fact any experiences of this, or if you've seen this, maybe, you know, even here with all mothers, even with our children, because even I'll even interject with that. I had a conversation with my mother a couple months ago about how her putting pressure on me suggests, because I was the second to the oldest, you know, she had her reason. She did not mean to, you know, for it to come off that way, but because she was putting so much pressure on me to do things well, it made me feel that self-condemnation. So as parents, we want to do the best for our kids. We love them dearly, but sometimes you can inadvertently cause pain and you don't realize this. So have you all had experiences, you know, personally or with your own children, or, you know,
So I always just like in the workplace, I can say, you might even do this to other team members. If somebody is always doing what they're supposed to do, and you kind of just assign those tasks to those people instead of, well, wait a minute, this person is capable. Why am I just choosing, you know, the person that is just doing it without, you know, getting the ass pushing forward?
have something to me.
So you might be just the do work. You might just be doing everything that you're supposed to do.
Right.
But she's doing it anyways. Let me just,
Right.
yeah.
That was
That was your follow through.
That was so good. And even that is kind of handicapping the other individuals because, of course, they're never going to learn and become better at their job if they're not given opportunities to make mistakes and grow into that position or requirement that, you know, is expected.
I can also speak on the work aspect, being in senior management. I love to kind of take the new people under my wing, because those are the ones that have the most negative self-talk. And you have to kind of nurture them and get them to understand this is new. I didn't hire you expecting for you to come through that door and know how to do this job.
That is
So I love to take, and I keep them close because, you know, I've kind of lost a lot of good employees because it was just too much. They got in their head, they talked that negative, and just said this job isn't for me.
Yeah.
But you haven't even gave it the last. You know, what's that statistic when they say that, you know, when you're learning something or putting in the hat, that does anything. Okay, so that's why most job places is getting a new employee, you know, that 90-day probation period, because we're testing you out and you're testing us out. And so I love to give that, you know, most places when you leave, they give you an exit interview, right? Well, I'll give that new employee their 90-day interview. Tell me how you're feeling. So that is what you spoke of, Dr. Keisha, about how parents can, you know, you should give your children that leeway to make mistakes. And so by me having that conversation with that new employee, they probably didn't feel comfortable talking to maybe their trainer about, you know what, I don't feel comfortable with this task. I can't do this, so I don't think I want to, you guys want to look at me a certain way. But if they hear it coming from a senior leader, and that leader is opening that Pandora box, so to say, to let them voice their opinion, and that negative talk, that leader can kind of downplay that negative talk, redirect them and their thoughts, and get them to, you know, realize that, you know, we didn't make a bad choice by choosing you. So, yes.
I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that because I'm in my new role. This is my second year as a coach. It is funny because I'm both ends. So my job, my position requires me to kind of help guide teachers, new teachers especially, to kind of just acclimate to their role in the classroom. And of course, you have situations where if you have individuals that are very hard on themselves, and I have to remind them you're not expected to be an expert at this your first year or two or what, and it may even be a teacher that has taught for several years. So they transition to another grade. Children are very different now. There's so many different factors, but I love that you said you make sure you're standing there to kind of support these individuals, because that is what's missing in a lot of people's lives, whether it's a personal coach, whether it's just a really good friend, or whether it's on your job. We all need someone to help us transition in those hard places where things are new, it's unknown, we don't know what we're doing. And a lot of people don't talk about the internal transition that you have to go through. We know the outer transition, like when I stepped into my new role, okay, I've had a new school, new people, et cetera, but nobody talked about the challenges I would face with it. And I'm like, what is happening? Why am I feeling this way? So having someone to even just listen, and like you said, kind of help you just interrupt some of those negative thoughts and shift and, just give yourself compassion. It makes things a lot easier, and you don't give up and get overwhelmed. Like, oh, get this job, I'm out of here.
Exactly.
You actually are able to stick to the game. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Yes. So I did want to point out how self-condemnation, negative self-talk, poor self-worth, all these things incubate anxiety. We kind of talked about it a little bit last week on the last episode. It incubates anxiety, depression, anger, bitterness, and a host of other mental and emotional issues that break down our capacity to receive love and compassion. So we think about it, you're always in a state of overwhelm, or you're always in a state of fear or anger, or how can you have room to let in anything that is going to, allow you to operate in a more productive fashion and perceive the help you need. It's like you have a guard up. So it's just like being able to kind of just release those things. And we'll talk about that in our next episode. But, that helps. So I do want to touch a little bit on poor self-worth. And basically poor self-worth is powerful because it basically says, I'm not validated and I'm not doing. And I mean to the core. It causes you to do two things. Either diminish or shrink yourself, or perform and overexert yourself. It's like two different extremes. There's really not a balance. So you're showing up, and if you feel intimidated, you feel like you're not accepted or acceptable, you want to hide. You know what I mean? Like you want to shrink and hide. And even if you're perfectly capable of doing whatever it is you're doing, you kind of give somebody else the space to kind of run the show. So you're shrinking yourself. You're shrinking your gifts. You're shrinking your skills, all of that. Or you're just overperforming. And like a lot of people are good at this. I mean, they will be the one that shows up, the ones that sign up for this and that, the one that's like the mom that's always at every game and it looks so good on the outside, like, oh my gosh, she has it together. But inside, that person's tormented because it's like you're never going to do enough. I don't care how much you do, that's not going to change how you perceive yourself. You know what I mean? It's not going to change or give you value because our value is not in what we do. It's in just who we are. And I said that before, like, do we ever want our children to feel like I only love you or you're only acceptable because you're good at A, B, and C, or you can do that? No, we love them for who they are. And then we have to give ourselves that same grace. And I love what a young lady, Dr. Christina Hybert, says. She says, self-esteem is what we think and feel and believe about ourselves. Self-worth is recognizing I am greater than all of those things. It is a deep knowing that I am valued, that I am lovable, necessary to this life, and of incomprehensible order. So basically, self-worth is just knowing no matter how much you mess up, no matter what you can or cannot do, you still have value. You still matter. So show up and just be who you are. And that's hard for us because, again, that ties hand in hand with self-condemnation. If you've been taught that making mistakes is not okay, if you've been taught that you have to know how to do A, B, and C to be acceptable, how can you feel or experience a healthy self-worth? So all of that ties, it goes hand in hand. Poor self-worth sends a signal that transmits the message. Something is wrong with me at the very core of my being. And like I said, the message is, no matter what, I am not acceptable or accepted. So I think a lot of people who struggle with poor self-worth have heard this message over and over again. And I kind of spoke of this last episode as well, where children, people, I mean, I'm going to say people in general, you don't have to say a word, but people can feel
Yes.
how you know, what you think about them. We call it discernment as well. People can sense, you know, how someone is feeling about them, what they're thinking. How I know when someone is genuinely interested in me or respects me, or, you know. So if you're a child and you're constantly getting these mixed messages of, well, you're not important, and a lot of this is from children who get, or individuals who are abused as a child, those who were neglected. I mean, a lot of times those drastic factors just tie into developing poor self-worth, because who was there to validate? Who was there to say, you're worthy enough for me to make sure you have the meal will take. You're worthy enough to make sure that your house is safe. You're worthy enough to know that you don't deserve to be smacked around, but loved and kissed and hugged. You know what I mean? So those kind of tie into that as well. And not to say everyone who has a poor self-worth have those experiences, but a lot do. And then I would say poor self-worth is birthed from putting conditions. This is really important, y'all. Conditions or contingencies on your right to be loved. And a lot of people, like, that's why I said it's not always so drastic as abuse. It could be a parent or just teachers or whoever who have sent the message that you don't deserve my attention or love or care or whatever unless you're doing this or unless you look like this. And we know as African American women, that's huge in our community.
Yes.
Oh, your hair has to be this way, or you have to be, you know, working here or doing this or whatever to be considered worthy, you know, which is such a lie. So I think just knowing that, being conscious of that, is one of the first steps in breaking free from attaching your worth to conditions, you know. And then you want to comment on anything before I just show last point?
Sure. So one thing that kind of always stood with me was, I know you guys remember Mr. Rogers' name.
Oh, yes.
He was always in his show with just talking directly to the audience. And it was one phrase that he would always say before he would end the show. He says, I like you because of who you are.
Oh, wow.
He said that yes, I love Mr. Rogers. I mean, kind of now when I look at it, he did kind of on that part of being a little creepy, but he always gave, at that time, you know, looking at it as an adult now, then like, oh my God, he has so many treasures that if an adult goes back and look at his show, would get healed from so many different interpersonal issues just because of the subliminal messages that he's throwing out. I'm like, this is too much for these little kids. Mr. Rogers?
Wow, you're getting a little deep here.
They don't understand what
But they did.
Yeah.
you were there all.
I think, like I said, it may have not grasped it fully on the same level, but you even in that, because that's deep, even that last part of his closing, that's deep for the child.
Yes.
But you knew it meant, I'm okay at
Yes.
this. You know what I mean? Like, I may not be able to vocalize that on a deeper level, but I know on the surface and beneath the surface, I'm okay to be here. So that's powerful. I'm glad you said that too, because it goes back to what I said. Our society is pushing out so many false narratives.
Yes.
They're pushing out so many subliminal messages to our children, even to us as adults, that you have to look this way, or you should accept this, or be like this to be acceptable. And it's not healthy. The messages our children are getting and we're getting, you rarely find a television show that's actually uplifting. You have to like really search and dig to find those nice family-oriented shows that build strong, healthy core values. So I'm glad you pointed that out, because this is all the things we're fighting against, just to live in that space where we feel okay to be ourselves.
Yeah.
You know. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Now, so my last healing was self-doubt. So we talked about negative self-talk. We talked about self-condemnation. We talked about having poor self-worth. All of these are ways to determine if your heart is infected and contaminated. And on my last one, with these are by no means the full list. We can go on and on for days, but to me, a top 4 for me. Self-doubt was my last one, which entails a lack of confidence in yourself or your abilities. So this one's a little more targeted to, again, going back to that, what I can do now. And usually it's funny because you can feel very self-confident in certain environments, but then you have that self-doubt when you give another bout, right?
Yes.
So it can be very situational, you know. But basically, it's rooted in the misconception and fear that you do not have the capacity to grow or to be able to, and that kind of ties into what you said, and we talked about our, being in work situations. You feel like you don't have the capacity to grow into excellence, to grow into the things that you need to be able to do. Because at the end of the day, as much as we know that our worth is not tied to what we do, we have jobs.
Yes.
We have duties and responsibilities as parents and et cetera, et cetera. So there are things that you are expected to do well, but when you have self-doubt, it's that feeling of just, oh my God, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
It really hinders your creativity, your clarity, certainty, your ability to make decisions, because your mind is ruminating over that possibility of, oh my gosh, what if I fall in my face, So we have to make sure that when you're struggling with self-doubt, you're kind of, almost like I said before, you're kind of like putting those thoughts and lies and that fear on the stage. Okay, let me see how I'm truthful you are. Let's see. I'm gonna be the lawyer, okay? I'm gonna be the judge.
Yeah.
See if this is accurate. How long have I been doing this? Did I just start this? If I have messed up, what can I do to, make adjustments so that I can do better?
Mm-hmm.
So those are just some things that, again, I'll talk more about, just ways to remedies for overcoming self-doubt and all these other things. But yeah, I'm going to stop there with that and let y'all jump in anything if you would like to.
So the last part that you spoke up, did you say, what was it? I'm sorry. In the very last part, you brought up the last one.
Self-doubt.
Self-doubt.
Yes.
Okay. I just kind of wanted to give an example about like familial self-doubt.
Okay.
What drove you to that self-doubt? Example, you're a young girl, your mother, your grandmother, your aunt, and they think they're giving you these things to help you mature into this beautiful young lady. One thing that comes to mind for me, my grandmother would always say something to the effect of, and mind you, this is learned behavior.
Yeah.
Okay, she would say something like, "A girl, like, get on there here. Don't buy like nobody too proud and too free."
Wow.
And I slowly felt myself just caving in on myself, and dealt with a lot of not being comfortable in my skin because I would get those little tidbits thrown in my way.
Yeah.
No, why you want to wear that? You should, little girl doesn't need to wear that. Or that color doesn't look good on you. You need to wear this color because that color represents a lady of the night.
Wow.
Whatever. It's just certain things like, why you want to wear your hair that way? So a lot of things like that are generational because maybe someone said that to her, that's all she knew.
Yeah.
And so she felt that that was the appropriate thing to say to the next generation coming up.
That is so big. And it does cause you to posture yourself.
Yeah, like she would say stuff like, a lady doesn't talk loud inside. It's a certain thing. And it wasn't that she was being malice with it because it came out kind of parental
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of.
it's just
But it's just the messages like, God, that was so wrong.
right,
That was so
exactly.
damaging.
Yeah,
I love my grandmother to death.
Right,
God rest her soul. But like I said, it's learned behavior. And until whomever recognize and realize that this is not healthy, and I need to stop that, cut that head off, that snake right there, and don't let it continue on into further generations, then I feel unfortunately that it's going to continue to be a problem and an issue.
Yeah, and that's so good because I mean, you think about it, family is, I mean, your root, that's your foundation, and as a child, that's your main. Those are people that are communicating to you who you are. You're not really, a child is not really gravitating towards the world. Their family is their minute, and that's like you said, is that sort of subliminal message of are you doing that? And for me, and it's I'm so glad you shared that because it made me think about how, what if you're in a family where, and I'm just going to use an example that may not actually pertains to me, but if I didn't just, I'm a switch up. Like, for example, if you're in a family, let's just say everyone's gifted at singing. That's it. How do you communicate to that individual, that one child, that you don't have to doubt yourself, you're still worthy, you don't have to condemn yourself, all these things, because you can't do what everyone else can do. Let's focus on your gifts. That does not normally happen.
Exactly.
Normally what happens is you get overlooked or you get forced to try to fit in that box, and that's not your thing. No matter how much you want to sing like Mariah Carey or whoever, you just can't do it. So it's like, how do we get beyond that, and how do we heal ourselves from those messages, because you heard it so long and you're sitting on the sidewalk watching people just walking their giftedness and their gifts being, highlighted. And I think that's something culture too. And I mean, maybe just not in our culture, but I would say just from what I saw, it was the thing to be a basketball player. It was the thing to be a great dancer, a great singer. But what about, like, for me, I was always the star. Okay, I mean, I love to write.
Nerd.
Yes, like I always loved to write and read. Drama. I did love that. I did love that part of the arts a little bit, but that wasn't fostered. It wasn't acknowledged. And I know a lot of people can relate to this. It's like, what do you do? How do we stop those messages and stop that those, I'm gonna say, generational patterns and curses and that just don't benefit every. So yeah.
Because I just think, to answer that question, just in my opinion, I think that parents need to let their children just be,
Right.
to a certain extent.
That's fairness.
If that child, because I'm pretty sure children learn different, and there's always this box that the educational system wants to put kids in and force children to learn the same way, and they don't. And then that's when, on a manager's perspective in the adult world, in a job, we struggle to meet company goals and departmental goals and the employee goals as far as morale, because all your life you've been forced to, with your family, with school, and now at work, to stay in a box. Right. And you don't belong in that box. So I say maybe a solution would be that at an early age, if you see that your child doesn't want to sit and, read a book,
Right.
find an alternative way to, although you still want them to read,
Right.
but and besides an electronic device, which irritates me, be creative. Say to that child, let that child have a voice. And also, from the background, watch that child. Whatever they put out there, 9 times out of 10, that's their core.
Yeah, so exactly.
So you see that child running around the house and singing, ask them about that.
Right.
Like, so how do you feel when you sing like that? And they will probably show interest. Well, I want to, I don't even draw.
Right.
Don't ever downsize a child's dream,
Yes.
thought,
Yes.
anything that they say to you, because their mind is so innocent, but yet they're also processing. They are like
Yes.
sponges and just processing, absorbing. So although the 15,000 questions in 2 minutes can be a little irritating, but nurture that.
Yes.
Nurture that. So I think that would, for me, I think that would be
Yeah.
the best way.
I agree. 100%. You have any feedback?
I agree with both perspectives, and I don't know. I think too sometimes you can overly like push your kids to do them too, which can in turn cause even more self doubt, because now they feel the pressure of, okay, wait, she liked what I did this, or I like what I did that, so we can add this too, we can add this too. These are, I think, there too, you can kind of push them to do things, and they're just trying to please you, so it is got to keep trying to add things. So yeah, for the two add.
That's it. Yeah. And you two ladies, I love this conversation, and thank you all for allowing me to check on your heart. And I would like you all, because Phil is not two sisters here, so I'm just repeat this affirmation after me. I will guard my heart.
I will guard my heart
With all diligence.
with all diligence,
For out of it are the issues of life.
for out of it are the issues of life.
Are we still? Thank you. Thank you, Elise.
Okay, so it's my turn to bring you guys on over to the Nurse Corner. So I got some good treats for you in this episode as well. So the last episode, I focused on sleep and a couple of things to help you with your quality of sleep. And I stated that I wanted to give you guys 2 more things that can kind of help and aid in sleep qualities. So my first 2 was the tart cherries and the tart cherry juice, and the other was melatonin. Did either 2 of you have a chance to?
I am working. I definitely want to try and not be that.
And one of my coworkers was talking about how she was having an issue with sleeping because of menopause. I told her about it, and she was like, "Oh, I'm in. Just tell her that." I said, "Thank you so much." That was what the tart cherry drink. Okay, did she try it? And she said it works. Yeah. Okay. But once again, I'm not a professional by all means, so seek the advice of a professional. But this is just my research and what has worked for me, and I'm just hoping that I can share with the world, and it helps you guys as well. So my last 2 point on sleep quality, I want to talk about passion flower and valerian root. So both of these are herbs. They're natural, and I'm going to get into those things. But these don't really help to in sleep per se, but they help you to relax and also kind of help with anxiety and other neurological deficits that may be causing the lack of sleep. So the first one I want to talk about is passion flower. Have either of you 2 heard that herb?
I've heard of this.
Okay, well, that's good. So basically, passion flower, I'll give you a little backstory. Okay, it's a plant that was questionably native to Peru. And I say questionably because Native Americans were using it the whole time. Okay,
Of course.
but we're going to go with questionably Peru. Okay, and supposedly the Spaniards, you're always doing something, thinking they were the first to discover something, but that's a whole nother episode. But the Spaniards discovered the plant in Peru, hence the reason why I said questionably. And they saw that this plant had 30-foot tall vines. So this plant can grow to be really, really, really tall. And I wish I had an actual one. This is a beautiful plant. They're normally purple, and they're just beautiful. But when the Spaniards saw this 30-foot vine, it also to them looked like a crucifix with the vines and the flower. And the flower has like a thorn halo around it. Okay, but flowers. So it's like a thorn halo with flowers. And at the top of it, it made it look like the thorn that Jesus wore when he was on the cross. Hence the reason why they called it Passion Flower. Passion of Christ.
That.
I just didn't get that one. I forget that. Right. So to get to the science part of it and the nerdy part of it, the actual name of the flower is Pasiflora incarnata. Say that 3 times. Really fast. But anyway, so basically it's a climbing vine, and it has white and purple flowers. It's a beautiful flower. And it has a mild sedative property and calming effects. So that's why I said it's not really a sleep aid, but it will help you relax and give you that calming effect. Another thing that it does, you guys remember I spoke about GABA? Okay, so it helps boost that level of GABA, right? And lowers your brain activity, which may help you relax and improve your sleep. Other things that it can also help with is, of course, insomnia, anxiety, stress, and ADHD. That's just a few of them. The forms that this comes in are teas and liquid drops. And I myself have used the liquid drops. I just put a couple of 2 or 3 drops in, tea or water or just whatever liquid you're drinking. Nothing hot, not coffee. And just, drink it when you're trying to wind down in the evening. And it helps you to kind of, calm down, and hopefully it'll boost those levels of GABA and get that circadian rhythm going so that you can settle down and get some sleep. Now, out of these two, the passion flower is a little more subtle in taste than the valerian root, which I'm getting ready to talk about, because the valerian root is very earthy. It is not a pleasant taste, but it gets the job done, and it's a little more potent than the passion flower. And I would suggest that anybody that's new to taking herbs or liquid tinctures, that they start with the passion flower, because the valerian root is a tad bit stronger.
Okay. So a question about the passion flower. So if I wanted to, the liquid or tea or what have you, take it like, let's say, while I'm at work, then would I just be like incapacitated? Like, okay, I'm done for today. Or would it help me because you said it's like anxiety and, sometimes you have a stressful day and, you want to have something that's gonna calm you down and relax you. So would that be okay? Have you done it? You said that way before, or do you suggest just waiting until you're home and we can actually kind of just sit back and?
Yes, I would use it during the day. It's really just something that helps you to calm all the neurons that are just firing off. That's causing you to have those feelings of anxiety, and just so it's calming. Which then helps. Once you're calm, then you can, your body can start going into your circadian rhythm and getting you to get in that phase of sleep. So yes, to answer your question.
Thank you.
And like I said, a lot of people, alternative parents, are using it for ADHD instead of putting their children on regulators. Yes, and all those horrible things. So my next one is valerian root, and it's also a herb. Oh, back up. I'm sorry. There's another herb that's very, very good. I didn't include it in this one because I could have so many. I just have so many. But another one that's really is very popular now. Before it wasn't really talked about. Maybe you guys heard of it. It's called ashwagandha. Also say that 15 times. That's a far word. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with black parents. They don't. This is not something that's wrong. They will call it. Understood. But another one is ashwagandha, and if you guys would like information on it, I'm the third. I'll give you everything I know about it. But that's another one that kind of is very well with, and I use that during the day to help with anxiety. But the last one I want to talk about is valerian root. And it's a herb. And this one dates back to ancient Greece in Rome. Okay. And the main kind of active ingredient in it is the valeric acid, which affects the GABAs, there's that word in, and the serotonin receptors, which produce a calming effect, again, in mood, and it helps improve sleep. Some things it's used to treat insomnia, anxiety, PMS,
No, wow.
menopause, and depression. That's just a few things, but there's a ton of things that it can aid in helping with. The forms that it comes in: teas, tinctures, capsules, and tablets. And like I said earlier, the taste is not that desirable. It is just, oh my goodness, it just, yeah. So, and I did say that it was a little bit more potent than passion flower. So if any of this piques your interest, I would suggest you start with the passion flower first, because the valerian root it's a little bit more potent.
Then you talk about this T word you kicked her about the
Sure, yeah.
I can't even say it. What's that again?
The T word?
Mm-hmm.
T word. You said herbs. It comes in herbs. It comes in a tea or tincture.
That's the one.
That's the
Tincture.
word. Tincture. That's a cute word.
Yes.
Well, tincture is the same thing as like a drop, but it's more of the actual herbs compound. So it's a little bit more. You're getting more of the substance of the herb in a tincture than you would in a tablet or a capsule.
Then can you use it as a scent?
So Molly had sat down for the night and decided to calm her nerves. So she went to the kitchen and she went in the cabinet and she got her a bottle of valerian root in the form of a tincture, and she put 2 or 3 drops in her nightgown.
Oh, yeah.
Tincture.
Please spell it.
Sure. That's T as in Tom, I as in igloo, N as in Nancy, Sinu, T, U, R as in Robert, E. Okay. Tincture.
That's my
All
name.
in there.
It's corn. It's corn.
So you guys know I always have to include a fun fact, right?
Yes.
Okay, you ready for this? And I bet you guys did not know this. Okay, so fun fact. All right. Do y'all remember the folklore Peter Piper?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a German folklore story, right? And so just to kind of give a background to people who don't know Peter Piper in the story, if you haven't heard the story, you had a learning child. But anyway, so Peter Piper was this dude that played a flute to lure in rats from the town, because the rats were just taking over. And they were taking over because people just nasty. They were just throwing their trash out the window. They didn't have a sanitation department like we have now. But the rats were just taking over. Well, there are those who believe that the playing of the pipe that he was doing was what was kind of melodically kind of hypnotizing the rats and lure them in, and he was able to lure them into a cage and kind of take them away from the village.
Don't feel me.
That's not really what happened.
Okay, I was like, wow.
That's not really what happened. So what happened was, Peter, our buddy Peter, what he did was he put the valerian root on his clothes. So he put it all over his clothes, and he got a little satchel and put some in a satchel, put it in his pocket. And he rubbed it all over himself. And believe it or not, rats love the smell of valerian root. And that's what drew the rats to Peter. So it was not his very symphonic playing of the flute. This dude went and saturated himself with the valerian root in a tincture, and that's what actually lured the mice to him.
Wow.
Okay. Also, the Greeks would hang bundles of this valerian root in their homes, like in their windows, and they used it to ward off evil spirits. Because when I tell you the smell of it, this will ward off anything. Because the smell of it is just not that desirable. In Germany, this is my last one. In Germany, valerian root was used in more than, and still is to this day, used in over 100 over-the-counter tranquilizers, and is the #1 non-prescribed sedative in Europe today.
Wow.
So, yeah. So the next time you want to tell your little kiddos about Peter Piper, please tell them the real story. Yeah.
That's kind of concerning and trick a little too. I mean, it's that strong though.
Well, it's used and it makes
So
up.
it adds to
It adds to whatever other things they put in. So,
Interesting. I like it.
so yeah. So there are 2 other things. We had the root, the tart cherry, the melatonin, and now you have valerian root and passion flower.
Thank you. I enjoyed Corner's Corner as always. Learned so much at this morning.
Feeling is killing.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Heal With Us.
And remember, healing is a process, so take it one day at a time.
What the doctor said. Remember, you can also reach out to us, provide comments, questions, anything that you would like for us to talk about on any of the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, as well as our email at healwithus3@gmail.com.
Heal with us.
In your business.